alongside 11-year NFL veteran and Vol for Life, Ramon Foster. I'm Will Bowling. As we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, and we are joined this morning by the head coach of the Tennessee Football Volunteers, Coach Josh Heupel, giving us a couple of minutes today. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great. You guys got the right music playing this morning, I can see.
We knew, Coach. We knew. Somehow we knew.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be hearing that a lot in Nashville coming up these next couple of months between SEC Media Days, first game of the year here in Nissan Stadium. How excited are you guys to spend a lot of time with us here in the Mid-State?
So excited. It's a huge part. I was actually there this past Friday, speaking with a bunch of coaches from around the state at their high school clinic. From the time that we've gotten here, 2 years ago, it's been important to me and to our program. We've tried to be extremely intentional and spending a lot of time in the Mid-State. We got to own that area, and you can tell from the administration side of it that they want to be intentional too with us having an opportunity to open our season next year in front of a lot of our great fans there in the Mid-State, and obviously SEC Media Days, really important for us to be there and get a chance to be around a lot of our fans.
And it's so interesting, Coach, talking to a lot of high school coaches in football in this area, just how many of these teams are running your guys' offense and want to look like the offense of the Tennessee Volunteers. And I'm just curious how big of an emphasis that's been for you and your staff to create relationships with a lot of these head coaches where you can now look at 2-3 years down the road and feel like you've really embedded yourself in these communities.
Yeah, recruiting is relationships. It's time spent. It's being transparent in the communication process, making sure that we do a great job of evaluating and having lines of communication with the high school coaches, in the state. And we've done that here over the last couple of years. I think we're going to continue to increase our effectiveness of recruiting inside of our borders here. But those relationships are extremely important, and we've spent time and energy each recruiting cycle. I've been intentional whenever I can get out on the road during December and January and during the fall, making sure that I'm hitting, the state as hard as I can. That pays dividends here in the first couple of recruiting cycles, but I really think that's going to continue to pay dividends as we go forward recruiting the state.
Coach, that's interesting. Before you came on, Will and I was having that conversation. I was like, how important it was for me to get that, that big school in-state offer. And I'm sure you kind of run into that a little bit now, especially since the talent growth has grown so much here in the state of Tennessee with as big, especially as this Nashville area has gone. Have you kind of gotten that response from families like, it's good that you guys are coming to the Middle Tennessee area, West Tennessee, and, of course, locking up East Tennessee too?
And we've gotten such a great welcome throughout the state, but in particular in the mid part of the state here. The brand, the logo, obviously is recognized across the country, but I think it is something special here inside of this border, and the reception we've gotten from coaches, from our VFLs that are still living in the state, from our fans has been fantastic. And we started creating that positive momentum and energy here on campus, but throughout Vol Nation, and that pays dividends in recruiting. And I think you can look at last year's cycle and how we closed it out inside of the state, winning some big time battles. It speaks to the energy that we've created.
Speaking of big-time battles, man, one group to me, of course, OL, the growth that they had last year. Just speak about how big it was for them last year, seeing Darnell right now be one of those top tackles in the draft, even, within the offensive confines that you guys had last year. And on top of that, what it's going to take for this group at springtime is that time of the year where guys start to separate themselves from, look, am I going to be a starter or, am I going to contribute in some type of capacity?
Yeah, really proud of the growth of the offensive line unit over our first couple of years, last year in particular. You look at the development of those guys, fundamentally, their understanding of football. It's a huge tip of the hat to Coach Ellerby and our offensive line coaches that do a great job of developing those guys. You can tell that they played as one unit. That unit's different. They all got to be bought in it together. They got to enjoy each other. They got to communicate at a really high level. You got to build that inside of that meeting room every single day, and really proud of the jump that we made. there's a lot more jumps for us to take at that position as a unit to become, the best in the country. You look at the development, Cade Mays last year, Darnell in this year's draft class, his potential to continue to move up the board. I think it speaks to what we're doing, like I said, in the meeting room, but I also think it speaks to Kurt Schmidt and our strength and conditioning staff, the physical development of those guys, position specific, and what those guys have done is they've moved through our program, and really excited about spring ball. It's an area where we got to replace a couple of guys. Jerome Carvin, somebody that maybe as many or more games than anybody at the offensive line position in the history of our program. That creates opportunity. That's the great thing. The tough thing about college football is 25% of your roster is changing over every year. So you got to develop those guys. We got some young guys that got to step up. I love what we're doing in our off season right now, but can't wait to get out on the grass with our guys here at the end of March.
Josh Heupel, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Coach, when you look at the relationship between Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker, how unique is that guy in Joe to have that close of a relationship with the starting quarterback? Just how unique was that entire dynamic between those two this past year?
Yeah, you don't find that in college football anymore. I think it speaks to who those two guys are, that they love and care about their teammates as much or more than they care about their individual success. It speaks to their ability to want to continue to develop. I think it speaks to the culture inside of that room, with Coach Halsey, myself being in there, and our young coaches, doing a great job of building those guys fundamentally. They can see themselves improving. They can understand, maybe what their deficiencies are, but also understanding that they're getting better at those things. And what we do offensively, have a chance to, when it's their time, to go play at an elite level and put themselves positioned to accomplish their goals here in college, but also long-term too. And speaks to the culture inside of the building, that we're continuing to help support each other while we're competing really hard with one another.
And do you feel like you've kind of got another coach in that quarterback room now with Joe, and just the amount of football he's played and being able to watch Hendon in that role this past year? And how does that help a guy like a Nico Iamaleava learning the system with a guy in Joe that's been there and kind of done that with you guys?
Well, I think it's important that we continue as new guys come into that position room, that they, buy into and understand the culture of what we want to have in that room. Joe has done a great job with Nico of helping him get his feet on the ground, grow as a player. Some of that, this is how you handle things on the field, but a lot of it's just, how you continue to be a pro inside the building and push to be your best, the time and energy and effort you got to put into it. Nico's got a ton of growth. We're really excited about him and what he's done so far here on campus. Probably about 13 bowl practices that he's got underneath his belt. But Joe's got a whole nother level of growth that he's got left in him too, and really excited about what he's done so far this off season. But also, what's going to happen here through spring ball as he continues to push to become his best.
Coach, in today's football with transfers and just freshmen coming in middle of the year, how have you guys been able to kind of bring that group together as quick as you have as of late? Because last year was phenomenal to watch, guys just come in and play their role and make plays for you in different type of ways, like Jalen breakout season, just in general. So how are you guys been able to pull that all together?
Yeah, I think I try to be really intentional in spending time with them, help them transition. That's freshmen and transfers, new guys to the program. We got a culture where, we talk about being a great teammate, which is helping support the guys around you and demanding certain things from them too, but helping show them the way of what it means to be a Tennessee Vol. And so our guys that have been in the program, our leadership council, have done a really good job with those new guys and welcoming them in, knowing that at times you're going to end up competing with some of these guys for snaps, but the overall culture of it is really unique here. And then, this time of year before we get into spring ball, every Wednesday for us is leadership and communication skill development. And, so being intentional on some of the things that we want to make sure we get a chance to speak to our culture, celebrate the culture, and continue to help these guys transition into being a Tennessee football player.
And on the coaching side of it, one thing that's for certain, too, is when you're good, your staff or, coaches are going to get poached. And that happened this offseason for good reasons. How are you able to develop coaches also within your system? Because it's unique and I'm sure it's very complex on how you go about calling plays, setting up stuff situationally, and being able to promote within. How important is that?
Yeah, I think, what we do offensively, how we approach, how we think about the game is certainly different than most people inside of college football. And in that, when you are able to develop really smart, great teachers that care about, the young people inside of our program and want to help develop a man but can teach at an elite level, then you are able to promote from within and know that you got the right guy. I'm always going to go through a process of interviewing people, but making sure that we have the right guy. Really excited about Alec Abelin here, being able to promote him to the tight end position. He's done a fantastic job with our guys in a really short amount of time. The tight ends inside of that room have grown fundamentally in understanding the game of football. They're really excited about what's going on and being in that room with Coach Aids. So really excited about, who we have inside of our building. Guys are going to get jobs from Tennessee. You want it to happen the way that it's happened. Cody Burns has an opportunity to fulfill a lifelong dream of being an NFL coach, gets a wide receiver job. Alex Golesh is, fortunate enough to get a head coaching job. You want that, in this profession, you want people on your staff to continue to grow and have an opportunity to move up the ladder. I think it speaks to the success of what we're doing inside of this program that guys are getting those opportunities.
Josh Heupel, our guest this morning on 104.5 The Zone, talking about some of the recruiting pitches you guys have been able to make. I've got to imagine being able to pitch that you can practice a little bit and go to a bowl game like the Orange Bowl just a couple weeks on campus has got to be pretty nice. How beneficial was that for you guys to get that early evaluation period of a lot of your early enrollees?
Yeah, it's a jump start for them on the college experience. They transition into our program. They get a chance to see what the football side of it looks like, from meetings to practices. They get an opportunity to be in one of the biggest and best games in college football year in and year out when they go to a game like we did this past year. I think that's a really valuable experience. As much as anything, I think it creates a real urgency in understanding the complexity of the game, the speed of the game, and getting themselves prepared when they come back to campus at the end of January. We start our winter semester. Those guys being really intentional and hyper-focused on preparing themselves so that they can go out and compete the right way when we get to spring ball. Our young guys inside of our program, 18 freshmen, I think, close to 26 guys when you count transfer portal guys that are new to our roster. The maturity that they've had, the focus that they've shown, and the willingness to compete every single day when they step inside of the building. Really mature group of individuals, and really excited to get on the field with them.
So, Coach, we had Josh Dobbs on our show last Wednesday, the morning of Tennessee's win over Alabama on the hardwood. Good to see Tennessee get the full sweep on both of those. But I know you got the chance to catch up with Dobbs while he was at Knoxville for the game. You guys talk about how many touchdowns that guy would have scored in your offense had he been able to play for you?
I did get a chance. I was sitting next to him and his dad courtside there. His dad definitely was saying, man, I wish he had gotten an opportunity to play in what we're doing offensively. Josh is a dynamic player. It's been fun to watch his NFL career unfold, and thought he played really well last year when he got an opportunity there with the Titans, and excited to see his future successes wherever that is. But what a great ambassador for Tennessee, the university, our football program. Really proud to have him be a VFL and represent us a great way, and really appreciate the way that he comes back and is intentional with our current players of creating a real bond with them and helping us grow as a program.
Speaking of basketball, Coach, I saw you at the game. And then Coach Barnes had a story about you during the Alabama week, just needing to get in the gym with your kid. I have to ask you, Coach, because most football players feel this way anyway. Was basketball your first love? Because you seem to be having a real interest in it, and I thought I was going to be the next Shaq because I grew to be like 6'4" in the 8th grade. But that's neither here nor there, though.
Hey, basketball was definitely my first love, and then I realized I was 6'2", that my future in that probably wasn't on the hardwood. I still do love getting out and playing. We'll play a little noon ball with the young coaches when our assistants are out on the road during spring recruiting, and love getting a chance to go shoot and help my little guy out on the court as well.
Well, because we always like to show off in the offseason anyway. I remember being in an indoor at TBA, and guys would just go get a quick pickup game going on, and I saw some football players jump from right within the free throw line. Have you seen anybody do something that dynamic to be like, you know what, you could play for Coach Barnes, but I need you more on the football field?
Well, first of all, I don't want our guys playing any pickup basketball.
It was a different era back then, Coach.
All right, but I also understand the lay of the land. We do have some guys that are really talented on the basketball court. Absolutely. There's guys that can shoot it. They can throw it up and go play high on the glass too. But a bunch of guys that are really talented. That is a hot topic of debate inside of our building for sure. Best basketball player in the program.
It's either that or whose high school football team would have beat who.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. State by state, there is no doubt. There's a lot of state pride when you get to that argument.
Coach Josh Heupel with us this morning on Ramon, and Will. Coach, just on the way out, we really enjoyed getting the chance to catch up with Hendon Hooker down in the Senior Bowl a couple of weeks ago. We're just really impressed to hear a lot of the reviews from NFL people and getting to sit down with him and just seeing how engaged he was in practice, not able to take part physically, but just how engaged he was in every part of the practice process. Just where do you feel like he's made the biggest strides to make himself such an attractive candidate and prospect for NFL teams?
That is who he is. That energy, that in being intentional during the course of practice, being hyper-focused, like that's who he is inside of our building every day. You guys, our fans have heard me say that a lot about him. It's great that our NFL, the NFL had an opportunity to see it firsthand. They're out at our practices too, but it's different when you're there for an entire practice every single period. And for him, I think it's his football IQ, it's his fundamentals, it's his ability to create and make plays, it's his accuracy with the football down the field. Hendo's going to have a great NFL career. I hate that he's not 100% as he goes through this process, because I think he would have only continued to climb up draft boards as he showcased some of those physical things. But there's no doubt that, wherever he gets picked, he's going to have a ton of success.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Josh Heupel has been our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Coach, looking forward to having you guys in the Mid-State quite a bit these next couple of months.
Absolutely.
And looking forward to catch up this summer at SEC Media Days.
Hey, I appreciate it. And to all the Vol fans out there in the Mid-State, appreciate your support. And have a great morning. Go Big Orange.
Love it.
Thanks,
there he
Coach.
is. Coach Josh Heupel with us for a couple minutes this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. And good to catch up with Coach. Enjoying the offseason.